Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we're going to have a look at another Linux distribution scheduled for release pretty soon. And pronunciation, is this Mageia or Mageia? Not 100% sure about that. This is a French distribution, which is a fork of Mandriva Linux, making it one that is not something I would necessarily have looked at or looked at a lot in the past, but definitely something we should pay a little bit more attention to in the future. So the current version is 8, which is released in February 2021, and their release cycle is good until 3 months after the next release. So 9 is about to come out, and so we're going to be having a look at the first release candidate for 9, and this should be out pretty soon. So RC1 was dropped July 23rd, 2023, so a few weeks ago from when I got a chance to do the video, and the biggest reason it was delayed in getting out is this is one of the distributions that, like Ubuntu, is becoming a little bit too large to manage on many portable media. So with 4.5 gigabyte download, I actually could not transfer it to my main work computers after through my USB drive, so I ended up having to wait until I had something else available, which case I just took out one of the Ventoy disks, which will support the large distributions, copied it on over to there, and then got a chance to move that over onto the streaming PC so that we could actually install it via the VirtualBox. So just be aware of that. If you are downloading distributions in one place like I usually do for use elsewhere, just understand that you are going to need to account for the much larger size of the distribution. This is becoming a problem in a lot of Linux, and for the first time, as I said, Ubuntu crossed that threshold where it can no longer be transported on a basic FAT32 drive. You'd need to use exFAT or NTFS or ext or something like that to transfer the files. But let's go ahead and have a brief look at their website. So this is mageia.org/en. Again, this is a French distribution, so we're looking at the English page that they supply. And they have a lot of information about the release candidate. So we'll have a look at that in just a moment. From the About Us page, it is just a community project, nonprofit organization of elected contributors. The mission is to build great tools for people. Not particularly descriptive, but there you have it. Beyond just delivering secure, stable, and sustainable operating system, goal is also to become and maintain a credible and recognized community in the free software world. They do have a lot of neat, compelling tools, I will say that. Started in September 2010 as a fork of Mandriva Linux, and then they just gathered a lot of different people. They have a lot of extensive documentation and things like that. Now, they are a Linux distribution that has a EULA. We will have a look at that because the installer is a little bit odd, so we are going to look at how to install it as well. So over here at the blog, and this is the English one, RC1 brings Mageia 9 stable, even more closer to reality. And again, about the pronunciation, if it's Mageia or Mageia or Mangia, I don't know. It's not Mangia. Okay, I said that a few times. It's not that. There's no N in here. Silent N. Sorry, I'm English speaker. Jeez. Mageia or Mageia. Since the release of Beta 2 in May 2023, the team has worked to solve a number of stubborn issues and provide security fixes and new updates. So kernel 6.4.3, glib 2.3.6, GCC 12.3, RPM 4.18. We have Chromium 104. We have Firefox ESR 102. Now, they do have a note down here about Firefox, somewhere down here. Somewhere down here, there's a note about Firefox. There's a new upcoming Firefox, but they wanted to wait until wait for the point release before upgrading, so users can expect it will be in the updates in the near future. So, depending on when this actually drops, that might come out, may not. We have LibreOffice 7.5. We have, if you're running Plasma, 5.27. If you're running GNOME, 44. XFCE 4.18, LXQT, and Mesa 23.1.3. So you have a variety of different things there. A couple other people saying it looks great. So let's go ahead and have a look at the installer first. As I said, this is a little bit more unusual of an installer. So here we have on the boot up screen, we can install it. We have a rescue system and we have a memory test. So let's go ahead and just push the install button. And once we land here, we are going to start by selecting our English. It does a pretty good job of auto-selecting various elements, so American English. And here is the EULA. I did read through the whole EULA. There is really nothing in here that's like, you know, we're collecting all of your data, blah, blah, blah. The only points of the EULA, basically you agree that this is just using this in any manner explicitly accepted by fully agree to confirm these terms, blah, blah, blah. If you disagree with any of them, you're not allowed to use it. Under the limited warranty, basically this thing is provided as is, no warranties. They have information about the GPL licenses. They talk about the intellectual property rights belong to the people who develop the software package inside of it, and then governing laws, any portion of the agreement or whatever else that's illegal. You have to be aware of that. So you do have to accept the license. As far as EULAs go, it is not necessarily a bad license. It is certainly a EULA, though, so take in count what you want for that. Here we have keyboard selection. We do have the option for a Macintosh keyboard easily selected there. Of course, I'm not using that, so there's that. And then here you have our existing disk. You can choose the various contents. So here's this. Do I actually have two? I might actually have two hard drives on this thing. I don't know. No idea. Anyway, there might be two hard drives on this virtual machine. Okay, that's okay. So we can actually choose which one we want. I'm going to look at that when the video's over here and see. Of course, I would want to erase the whole disk. We do have custom disk partitioning as well, which is probably going to boot up, one of the disk partitioners. So here, all existing partitions will be destroyed. That's perfectly okay on this particular test machine. And it says you need to reboot for the partition table modifications to take effect. When I did my first install, I did not have to do that. So I have no earthly idea. Apparently, some things are a little bit different sometimes. So that is something that did not happen the first time I installed this. I did not have to reboot after saying, yeah, wipe everything out. So. And we're back to the starting install screen. No idea why it kicked us back to do this, but we'll go ahead and give that a try again. All right, so now we have went through the hard drive stuff. Now the following media have been found and will be used. So we have the core release and we have the non-free release. So you can turn on or turn those off. And then you have supplementary installation media. So this is like over a network, over FTP, whatever else. So unless you're installing something else from some other source, you're going to keep that at none. And then here you have the option if you want to say, okay, I only want to do the free stuff, you can go ahead and uncheck the non-free. So you have that as the option. And so it does give you the explanation up here. So I do like the ability to say, yes, I want to be pure and do non-free, free or non-free only. And, you have those various options. Here you have Plasma, we have GNOME, or we have Custom. I actually installed Cinnamon on my test build, so I'm going to go ahead and click Custom over there. And then this does open up another package of worms because there's actually another Custom over here. Pull down the workstation. This is going to show you the various software that's available. So the networking stuff is if you need this particular computer to SSH or whatever else like that, you can do that. We have documentation. We'll go ahead and take that off. We have gaming station stuff if you want to install things for games. And hovering over it, I found sometimes that, there you go. I think you got to hover over it and then slide the mouse over so slightly. So arcade, board, strategy, etc. That might install Steam by default. I don't know. Here's internet. Here's configuration, development, and LSB. So Linux standard base. So then as far as the server, so if you want to run a web server, database, mail server, you can do that. So if you're looking for an easy to build workstation for basically a server to keep laying around, this might be something you consider. And then for the graphical environment here, it's going to choose your desktop environment. So I selected Cinnamon. Now, again, there's another graphical displays. I have a sneaky suspicion that this might, if we select that, it might give us another section later on. I didn't test that earlier, so we're not going to open up a can of worms on my record. But just so know that there are possibly some other things as well. There's Window Maker, FVWM, probably OpenBox, and a few other common window managers and other desktop environments there. I'm going to select it just in case. I'm going to select that and cinnamon. Okay, we're going to go down some dangerous paths. So now from here, it's going to go ahead and just start installing things. And at that point in time, this is where it just got into the adding the users and a few other things from there. So from this on out, you're just kind of letting it do its thing. I'm not sure what happened during the install as far as selecting other desktop environments, but presumably we can add those later on as well. So we'll go ahead and jump on over to the installed system and walk through what that looks like next. All right, so here we are on our login screen. Over here we have our user pre-selected. We have Cinnamon. We have Ice Window Managers over here as well. So I'm not as familiar with that one, so we're not going to accidentally boot into that. And then we have your basic accessibility stuff and our language settings. So go ahead and hit our login here. So that looks, if I'm not mistaken, I think that is Light DM. I could be wrong about that. So I'm not a huge expert on all the different login managers. I probably should do a whole video about just the login managers. That might be fun and compelling. All right, so when we first log in, we have this welcome screen. It's going to walk us through some extra steps. One thing I noticed is that it does look like our network is down, although I did check and our network does appear to be up. At least it did the first time because it was at least able to install things. And there we have. So it's actually internet is on. So the network is telling me internet's not on, but it actually is on. And when I click that, I'm not seeing much about that. So I'm not sure. We'll go ahead and dig into that a little bit further. Let's walk through the welcome screen first. So one of the things that could be confusing for a new user is it's not obvious that you have to hover over here to get this arrow to pop up. So that's kind of a little bit annoying, although you can just click on these up here as well. So it's not a huge deal, but once you're in there, you can go backwards and forwards over here. Now, this is really nice because this welcome screen is really useful. We have the ability, it explains what everything is, the core. This is the free and open source packages. The non-free is the closed source programs. So NVIDIA, proprietary drivers, non-free drivers for some Wi-Fi cards. We have tainted, the packages, usually audio video codecs needed for certain files or commercial DVDs, may infringe on patents or copyright laws in certain countries. So you have to be aware of that. We have backports, new versions of packages, newer packages that do not yet meet update policies. And then, of course, there's a note there. If you enabled online repositories during installation, some media sources should be already installed. So if you hit this button here to edit those resources, we actually have a nice GUI manager to manage these guys. So here is our list of our core. This is enabled, and this is for updates. So here's our core updates. Here is our non-free release, non-free updates. Here's the mirror list for tainted, mirror list for core, mirror list for non-free, mirror list for tainted. So you can easily turn on or turn off various things if you want to go into debug or testing, backports. You can actually turn all this kind of stuff on if you want from this screen without having to mess with anything in the terminal. That is totally awesome. I really love that approach. All right, so over here are the updates. This guy here is just going to pull up a window that's going to push the updates. And I need to contact Amir to get the latest. Please check your network is working. Sure. And I could have checked the button to not see that again. So list of updates is empty. That means there's either no available updates or you've already installed them all. That's good. I actually had the first time I ran the updates, it actually had the Linux kernel updates did not properly want to install. Like there was something wrong with a keyring. So I canceled those and then just installed everything else. And they're not on the list anymore. So interesting. Maybe something with withdrawn in the 10 minutes it took between preparation and recording. So here is the Mageia control center. So this is Drac config. So this is a set of tools to help you configure your system. So you can go ahead and have a look at this guy here. Again, you need to enter your administrative password. And then over here, we have software management. We have the update your system, configure media sources, and install updates frequency. So what's the frequency of hours that you want your update system, and the first check and delay. So if you want to delay your check, you can go ahead and make those customized settings over there. Let's have a brief look at our package installer here. This is a good time as any to look at that. So we have a nice little GUI package here. I really like this in that we have all packages. So if some weird system dependency, you can get it showing up over here. But by default, it only shows you packages available with a GUI. So that's actually nice and handy. We'll go ahead and expand this guy up in size, play around a little bit. So here's some graphical desktops. We were talking about what other desktops could we use. And here we have Cinnamon, Enlightenment, GNOME, Ice Window Manager, KDE, Mageia, Window Maker, XFCE. Those are all options there. And then there's other stuff, which is just some miscellaneous. Here's OpenBox and other stuff in there. So here's your KDE type stuff. Here's your Mageia type stuff. Of course, if you want to install a full desktop environment, you probably have to install all or most of those. You have to check the documentation for which one of those to use. But if you're looking for monitoring type systems, you can do that. I'm curious, HTOP is in here, despite it technically doesn't have a GUI. I'm not in the terminal there. Here's your archiving options. So we have backup archiving. So we have a couple different backup things. There's time shift in there. Then there's just a few other ones. There's a Nextcloud client. Here's CD burning items. So if you are looking for a CD burner, and compression items. So File Roller is pre-installed. Then we have options for other archive managers here as well. And under your communications, we have Bluetooth items. So if you want to use either Blueman, Blueberry, you have a couple options as to what you want to do. I'm not sure if it didn't install any by default or didn't install any because this computer does not have Bluetooth. I don't know for sure which one of those that would be. Here's some emulators, so you can do any of that. So there's a lot of different software that you can hunt around here and find. You can sort by various topics and things like that. All right, we'll go ahead and move this guy back down to its regular size. Under your hardware, here's your sound configuration, browse and configure the hardware. And here's your printers, things like that. Network. Let's pull up that network center, see what's going on with that. Because, like I said, the network center in the toolbar down there is not really working. There we go. We can monitor the network. So it is working. It is fine. We have an IP address over here. And obviously things are working. But for whatever reason, it is not showing up down here in the system panel on Cinnamon. Not sure why that is, but that is certainly something to keep in mind. And under here, under your system, we just have snapshots. If you click on this, this is going to prompt you to install Drax Snapshot. Would you like to proceed or not? So, of course, if you are using system snapshots, this is a really nice tool that it installs, and then that's great. And then, but then if you're not using system snapshots like I don't, it does not bloat your system with the tool on install. So I like that approach. That's a nice approach. That's something Peppermint should do rather than sending you to like one of the, just a web page about things. It should just be like, hey, this is what we'd use to install that. You want to install that? That would solve a lot of the problems that I had with Cinnamon. Here's network sharing, SMB sharing, NSF sharing, WebDAV shares. To check around documentation and see if that would work with like a Nextcloud account or things like that. Didn't see that when I was doing my first test, so we're not going to look into that. And then here's your boot. Set up auto login to automatically log in, set up the boot system, and set up display manager. So, yep, LightDM. I was right. We have LightDM, and then there's XDM, LXDM as well. So that is your display server, and there's set up auto login. So you can set up the auto login with the default user and then default desktop as well. So you have those various options to do that. And that's what we have inside of our control center. So under the installing software, this guy here, let's go ahead and boot this guy up. I think this is, so this is going to be the same package we've already looked at for installing software. So nothing new to see over there. We also have DNF Dragora, which we could install by clicking the button. It's going to say, would you like to install this? We're not going to go ahead and do that. But if you were wanting to use that instead, you can go ahead and install that. And then this is actually a nice feature here where it gives us a list of common applications, and then it tells you if it's installed, and it also gives you notes about the repository. So you can see that the video there, we do have some video codecs installed, but this is going to be your free and open source ones. If you are struggling with some video codecs, maybe something new, I'm sorry, what are the new codecs? I forget what the new one, H.265, I think is the new one. That might be under the tainted rather than under your free. So if you're having issues with that, you can go ahead and install that. We have a VLC from your free repositories, but we also have the tainted version. The difference is, of course, is the tainted version is going to come prepackaged with media codecs. And then there's extra themes and background images. Okay, that's neat. So that's under our featured. Here's under games. We can install it. It does tell us this is from the Steam repository. This guy here, single player first person bangy bangy game, is from the non-free repository. Then we got some free games there as well. Under internet, you'll see that Pigeon, FileZilla, and Firefox are installed, and the other ones are recommended but not installed, including your Thunderbird and including your Chromium. So you have that as an option. Sure, let's go ahead and install Thunderbird. I want to see if it's looks as ugly over here as it does on my system. Is the problem my system or something else? All right, it's asking us something else. Let's see. Okay. Hello. Okay, I think it was just waiting for me to do that. Let's see. This is the English United States. It defaulted to the Canadian version. We need to change to the United States version. There you go. So there you go. It's going to be downloading some software, installing that in the background. Just poke around. Oh, it's not going to let us look at other packages while it's doing that. Okay, well, you can kind of see what it's doing, though. It's working. We'll go ahead and let that do its thing. And then we'll look at our configuration at the end, which is just simply a screen that says, yep, we're all done. So while that's waiting, let's go ahead and have a look at what we have as far as our applications. For development, we have Emacs, Emacs Client. We have GIMP, LibreDraw, Pix. We have, it looks like we have not the full Office suite because it looks like the databasing is missing. Let's go ahead and... But everything else of the Office suite is there. We do have Home Bank, which is, I think I did just a comparison video between that and GNU Cache. Home Bank is a really good free and open source accounting tool for home accounting. It does not work for business. There's too many more complexities in business with P&Ls and stuff that it doesn't manage. But for simple home finances, Home Bank actually works great. Here's LibreOffice Math. Sound and video, we have Cheese, Media Player, Pulse Audio Volume Control. That's nice. We have Rhythmbox. And then we have a couple of different tools available. Just mostly just some basic tools. Many of them, some of these will come with Cinnamon. Some of these are from other places. And then, of course, there's our places and our recent files. This is our Cinnamon desktop settings. And inside of this, let's see if we have the newer version. Oh, yeah, it actually looks like the Cinnamon version might be an out-of-date Cinnamon version. Let's have a look. So Cinnamon version 5.6.7, and I can tell because it's still giving us, this is the old classic way of doing themes. The newer one just has light theme, dark theme. There's a lot more easy settings in there as well. So this is looks like it is still a slightly older version of Cinnamon. Curiously, here's under audio stuff. Here's under our Office. So you can see the list of tools they give us for recommendation is actually pretty good. Your configuration, there you go. Now you're all set up to use it. And then here's more information, forums where you can get help and things like that. So let's go ahead and pull up that Thunderbird. Let's see what that guy looks like in this version. Of course, I probably won't be able to see what I wanted to see because I don't have an email address set up here. Oh, well. Try harder anyway. Maybe I'll add an email address to that later when we go off camera. So that is what we have inside of the system. Let's go ahead and have a look at that kernel there. So 6.4.3, so that is what we were expecting. So overall, the system works pretty well. I really like the tools. I like the various options that we have as far as your all of your different options. Your installer has a lot more options for if you want this type of stuff, or if you consider it bloat, you can take it out. Note that there was the option for viewing individual packages, so you could look through that and like, okay, I don't need Samba servers, I don't need printer support, things like that. You can add those in, take those out. If you know you're going to add Bluetooth later, you can probably add some Bluetooth management stuff to it on the install. So there are a lot of good options inside of here. I love the fact that we have a lot of different desktop environments to choose from directly out of the installer, and it really works well out of the box. So this is definitely a good system to look at if you're just looking for a good working out of the box, kind of easy to use Linux distribution. The installer is not quite as intuitive of some of your basic installers, but that always comes when you have more options, as this installer happens to have. So overall, I really do give this distribution 2 thumbs up, and maybe we'll give it 2 thumbs up and 2 paws up. The kiddies like it too. So with that, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts and the proper pronunciation for this thing in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.